UNLV basketball is back. We have our first-year head coach, Josh Pastner, joining us on the show today. We're going to break down the season, talk about the players. I'm just so excited, guys. I cannot wait to get along and bring out the Rebels. This is the Let's Run podcast. Folks, welcome to the show today. Grateful to have you alongside our fearless Sterling head coach, Coach Josh Pastner. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to the fans, to talk to the world, to kind of get these Rebels out there and promoted. And I really want Vegas to get behind this team, to get behind you as our coach. And this is our second time we've actually had a conversation. So thank you so much for coming on the show. How you feeling, Coach?
Yeah, well, Jason, a couple things. One is, first of all, congrats to you, as I mentioned before, on passing the bar exam, and soon to welcome an addition to your family, to you and into your lovely bride. So, congrats to you guys on that. I think that's awesome. Obviously, an incredible blessing. So good for you. And UNLV football 5-0. With a huge game coming up, and then obviously. Following that, the next week, with Boise State on the road, that's going to be all eyes on that one. So a lot of great things happening at UNLV athletics right here, all across campus, and really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I know that this is the best time of year. I mean, that early November kind of window, you have the NBA, you have college basketball, you have the NFL, you have college football on. So, I mean, this is just absolutely the best time of year, and there are so many good things going on around UNLV's campus right now. And the 5-0 Rebels, I saw you at the UCLA game, and I know that you are. I appreciate the work that you do, not just with the basketball team, but to make sure that all ships rise. And when football is doing well, I mean, that's kind of the big thing. Then basketball also does well, and so it's really great to see kind of the interaction between the two programs. But we're coming up on the start of the basketball season. And as it gets a little closer, I wonder, how are you feeling? I'm sure you're excited, but how are you feeling kind of as we get closer? I'm going to miss my first home game in a long time because the baby's going to be due just about, I think our baby's coming on the 3rd of November. So I'm going to miss a home game, sadly. I apologize for that, but how are you feeling? How's the excitement level around the team going?
Well, first of all, Jason, when I was doing the schedule, I intentionally scheduled November 4th, knowing that your wife was going to give birth November 3rd, thinking that would allow you to come to the game. So I'm disappointed to hear. Otherwise, I would have played November 3rd because everything was revolved around knowing I wanted you to be at the first game, and I knew knowing that your wife was going into labor most likely on November 3rd. But we'll have you there in spirit for sure, and I know you'll be following the game on your phone from the delivery room. From the hospital there. But a couple things I would say. One is you're right. I'm excited for our team to see where we're at. I mean, the reality of it is we do need to play against somebody else. Now we have 2 exhibition games, preseason games before we play our first November 4th. I think, and I don't think we're the only team in the country when I say this that feels this way. You've been going for a long time, all summer, all September, pretty much all October. So sometimes your defense looks better than your offense looks better than your defense. Guys know everything. We need to play against somebody else to really have a better viewpoint on where we're at as of today, if that makes sense. And I think, again, we're not the only team in that boat. I think a lot of teams around the country are ready to play against somebody else. The second thing I would tell you is we need to get healthy. Yesterday in practice, we had 5 guys out. Now, obviously, we've talked about the 2 guys with the foot surgeries who are making great progression moving forward. We had talked about Tyron Jones with the shoulder separation, who's making great progression. I do think Tyron Jones should be ready to go start of the season. I do think Lodgy should be ready to go to start the season. Miles Shea, it's probably a coin flip. Emmanuel Steffen, who had hurt his back, making a play at dunking the ball on an alley-oop pass, fell pretty hard, but he should be out a few more days, but hopefully back by some point next week. And then we just got to, we're waiting on a deal with Isaac Williamson, a freshman, just up with his foot. He could be out a couple weeks. So we're just kind of the mash unit right now. And that's why we've got to continue to get everybody better, coach everyone hard, because we don't, you got to have everyone ready to go once we start that beginning part of November. The thing, Jason, is until we get our full complement of guys back, it's going to take a little time to gel and have the chemistry. You got to remember, a lot of these guys out and they're not practicing and they're just being on the sideline. Even though once they're cleared, that doesn't mean, okay, you're cleared, you can just go play a game. I mean, it's going to be a workup for conditioning, because you obviously got to get them in game shape. And then it's going to be a workup of guys playing together and the chemistry. So we've got to do a great job in November, but the reality of it is we might not hit our stride till we get everyone fully healthy, and that could be until the beginning part of December or as we get in the Mountain West Conference play. That doesn't mean we're not going to try to win every single game we play. It's just we might be at our best as we enter into Mountain West Conference, which is mid-December. So we're dealing with that defensively. I mean, that's going to be a big deal for us, and we spent a lot of time on that, Jason, just as in terms of we've got to make sure that to be really good defensively, we've got to set our defense back in transition defense. And so that's been a real point of emphasis over the last few days on really, covering the basket, stopping the ball, building a wall, loading to the ball, making sure we're good in that part, because due to our length, we want to make teams play against us in the half court. It's an advantage us. And then from there, we've got to really shrink the floor and be good half court defensively. But part of that first initial line of defense is on the transition defensive side. So we got to be better about that. I'd also tell you that we've got to make sure that I've said this to our guys a bunch, because especially in the Mountain West Conference with road games, and as you know, this league has some of the best home court advantages all throughout college basketball. And that's where we've got to get Thomas and Mac back to that. We got to get back to where we're having that sixth and seventh man in our home arena to help us, give us that edge over the top. But when you're on the road, you still got to find ways to win games when you're not shooting the ball well and the shot's not happening, and you're having an off night offensively, Jason. You've got to find ways to still win. And in order to do that, I've been harping on this big time. You've got to win the possession game. You've got to win the game in the margins. And what does that mean? You've got to get yourself extra possessions. How do you get yourself extra possessions when you're not, just on fire from 3-point range? You've got to be great on the offensive glass. You can't turn it over. And then you got to get great job deflection, so you create turnovers on the opponent. So you have more possessions, more shot attempts than the opponent. That gives you your opportunity to still win games and other ways to win when that shot is not falling. And as you know, in basketball, you're not going to be perfect offensively every game. You're going to have off nights, but you still have to find ways to win. And winning those possession games, winning the margin game is critical for us to what we need to do. And so all that stuff's being talked about. We've got to be great, and you'll see us play when you watch us play. We've got to be outstanding playing off of 2 feet. The ball's got to move. 0.5 decision-making, and we like to talk about it, meaning either 0.5 catch, shoot it, dribble it, or pass it. I mean, you're dribbling, and it's not dribbling like going just for like you're attacking downhill. Conquer the paint. We've got to get paint touches. We've got to play off of 2 feet. I mean, that is a big thing with us. 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet. Get into the paint, and the ball's got to move. The players has got to move. There's the thing. I don't, Jason, you don't, your wife doesn't. Your newborn child's not going to want to see it, and the rest of the fan base does not want to see the dribbling rebels. They want to see the ball moving and attacking with purpose and really playing with a downhill mentality. And so that's been a point of emphasis to this point in practice.
Yeah, can you explain what you mean by 2 feet? I think that's an interesting way of phrasing it. I know that that's pretty common phraseology, but I like that. I like that, and I was wondering if you could explain to the audience what that means.
Yeah, so a lot of times one of the big transition things happen from, like, for a high school player coming to college, not only on the defensive end they struggle, but offensively is a lot of times they're a 1 foot jumper. They get into the paint, they jump off of 1 foot to try to make a pass or a play. And in high school, you can get away with it. And all of a sudden what happens is you get your shot blocked, or you jump in the air, you're turning it over, you're running over guys, you're out of control, you're not balanced. And it even happens a lot of teams in college, even guys we get, don't really understand how to play off of 2 feet. So the amount of, you can talk about it, but there's a difference between talking about it to where you live it and obsessed about it with just emphasis, you're emphasizing it, you're enforcing it, and then reinforcing it and reemphasizing it again all throughout. And it just becomes a way of life within your program. And so playing off of 2 feet and pivoting allows you to always be under balance, in control, finding the open person, using multiple pivot feet. You can't do that playing off of 1. You don't get yourself as in balance. When you're playing off of 2, you can really use your butt and your hips to get inside the defender when he's alongside you, and you can take up that space. And we talk about coming to great stride stops, 2-foot stops, being low, that way if they hit you or bump you or body bump you, you've got to then continue to stay in balance, and you can finish off of 2. You can make the pass off of 2. You're just in better control off of 2. And that is something that's really important for us. And I think you'll see that when you see your team play. A lot of things that we do getting into the paint is playing off of 2 feet. And that's a big deal for us because it also helps not get you into turnovers and getting into pick sixes, as I like to call them, where the defense gets a steal and just goes the other way. And so, again, going back to winning the margins, Jason, winning the possession game. How do you do that? Not turning it over. But how do you can say that, but then you've got to practice it. And what does that mean? Making sure that you keep it simple, hit singles, just be very solid and sound, and really playing off of 2 feet all over the floor.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds exactly like, I'm a huge NBA guy. It sounds exactly like Nikola Jokic. I mean, the best player in the world. And consistently, when you watch this guy, he's in complete control. And when you're on 2 feet, it gives you the optionality. I mean, you have the world as, kind of your oyster as a basketball player. And the minute that you lose control and jump up in the air, it is a disaster often. Unless, very rarely, you see even some of the best players in the world struggle with that.
You see, and you're being an NBA guy, you watch a guy like Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. He's always, he's not an elite athlete. He's not, coming down and dunking on you. He's playing off of 2 feet. He's playing really low to the floor. And he's just, low man wins. It's just the lower you are, the more balanced, the more explosive you are. I mean, it's why you watch, in the 100-yard dash, and you watch Usain Bolt in the Olympics, he doesn't start like straight up like this, and then the gun goes off to signal him to start the race, and then get down and run. The way they're starting low in a stance low to the floor, because you're most explosive that way. It's why you look at anything. I mean, you look at, even if you watch UFC fighting, I mean, they're all talking, the grappling of it, of just the lowness of trying to get to their legs and wrestle. Everything's about low to the floor. And that's kind of the deal in basketball. And that's why playing off of 2 feet, sitting down, using your hips and your butt area to really have that balance is a big deal.
And the same goes for the defensive side of the ball too. I mean, if you're low and you have a wide stance, you are controlling the space of the half court defense. You're using your long arms, you're using Nas. I mean, you think about the guys that we have on this team that can take up space on the perimeter, whether it be Kamani, these guys can control the court, and it's all about optionality and control. And I love it on the defensive side too.
Yeah, well, you will defensively. You want to be, when you're guarding the ball, you want to be lower. You want your head to be lower than the offensive person's head. That means you're in a lower stance. You want to be, be lower on that. We talk about winning the first dribble, meaning when the offense puts the first dribble down defensively, you want to win the first dribble by cutting them off with your chest on that first dribble. Same thing, vice versa. Offensively, you want to win that first dribble by kind of clipping his hip and forcing the defender to kind of open up the, escort him, as I like to say, or open up the gate, or you want to kind of have him try to swing his foot open so you can drive downhill. Defensively, you want to avoid that, push off and really take it with your chest on that first dribble. And after a dribble or two, you got to then assume you're going to have those gaps filled by the help of your teammates next to you. Because again, the best position, the best help you can give your teammates defensively is being in the right position. And starting in the right position is starting in and then moving outward. You can't start out, then try to rush into help into the inward area of the positioning, and then going back outward. That's where you get sprayed for threes all over. You've really got to start in. The floor's got to be shrunk. Then you got to move out. It's 2 movements. It's in to out. It can't be out and out. And as we talked about, when you guard the basketball, you don't, like a lot of times we'll stop practice and be like, okay, Jimmy Joe, who do you have? I have, I have Jason Kelly over here. I go, no, you don't. I go, who do you have? He goes, I have I go, no, the ball's over there. You're guarding the ball. All 5 guys guard the basketball. There needs that the guy has the ball has to have a crowded picture. It's got to look crowded. It can't look like it's, the parting of the Red Sea and someone can just drive right down the middle of our defense. So all 5 guys guarding the basketball. So the picture has to look crowded, because that's what scores is the basketball. So yes, Jason Kelly could be off the other corner. You might be, in a matchup with him, but that's not who you're guarding. You're guarding the ball wherever that is, stopping the ball. That's the big.
Yeah. I mean, you're guarding, people always say, who are you guarding? Yeah. I mean, whether in your man, whether you're in man or zone or something, you as a team are guarding a team, and that team, their primary asset is the basketball. And so it's all about positioning. It's all about space. And I love that philosophy. And I can't wait to see it in action. I do want to ask, with the injuries that you have, I mean, this is common. Every team's going to deal with injuries. And I like a lot of the pieces that you added over the offseason, because coaches have to anticipate injuries. I mean, it's going to be part of guys are going to miss time. With the roster that you have, I'm wondering, especially with the front court, because that's kind of been our discussion on our Rebel boards. We're like, oh man, I wish we had another big. And I think that we have really good players, very good players. But how do you go about preparing for a season, especially with, maybe not as many guys in the front court, at least in our outside analysis? How do you go about building a rotation and preparing for games with guys that are unhealthy? And obviously they're getting healthy. What's that process like? And how does it, how do you practice? How do you practice the right way? Because you're going to be going up against 7-footers. And if all your 7-footers are dealing with injuries, it's like, well, how do you prepare for the coming waves of defenders that these guys are going to have to play against?
Well, a few things. One is you and to talk just so your all your followers know. So we're allowed 15. You're allowed 15 scholarships or 15. You're allowed 15 roster spots, the new rules, and you can use 15 scholarships. You could use 7 scholarships and 8 people just walk on. It's your choice. For right now, for this year, based on where we were athletic department wise, we were only allowed to use 13 scholarships. Now, I do believe in the future we'll get to 15, because I've had some people say, hey, why didn't you sign this guy? Because we didn't have any scholarships. But then they'll say, hey, you're 15. No, but this is what the amount that was allowed to me for this year. I wasn't able to go over 13. Now, I was able to get 2 walk-ons to kind of help us with practice, but I wasn't able to go to scholarship 14 and 15 to maybe get some other guys. I just wasn't that wasn't permitted for this year from the athletic department. So in the future, do I believe it will be? I do, but that's just so your followers know, because a lot of people even have asked me, hey, why didn't you sign this guy or this guy? You had 2 open scholarships. But that's the reason why we were told we would go to 13 for this year. Secondly is, look, the way you practice, Jason, is you've got to practice with what you have. And in my mind, I'm viewing it that I'm the injury guys. I want to get them as healthy and on the floor as quickly as possible. But in my mind, like, hey, this is who we have, and we got to get these guys ready. So if we only have 8 guys, 7 guys, 9 guys, these 8, we better get them as good as possible and ready to play the first game. I mean, that's just that could be our team for that first few games. And if that is, you, Jason, and anybody else is not going to want to hear me just say, well, we didn't play as well because we don't have our full no one wants to hear an excuse. No one wants to hear anything on that. I get it. So the standard from everybody that's going to be held to us is that we play at an ultra high level. And again, maybe there's some things we can't control out of our control, but the guys on the floor better have a great competitive excellence and be really good when we get on the floor. So that is just my mindset on that. It'd be nice to have the full complement of guys, but if we don't, we got it with what we have. We got to get on the floor and be at a high level. The third thing is regarding the front court. Yeah, look, the game has changed now a little bit. Sometimes some of the best basketball is playing small ball. And I'm not saying that we do, because we do have some good bigs, but there's things that you could do where you could play smaller at times, but then you've got to be just a complete tough hard as, just a toughness, hard as nails, just a blue collar type of mentality on the defensive end. If you're giving up that size, as in the terms of the way that you front in the post, what you do in the glass, off defensive rebounding, we use the word cracking, you crack the legs, or you crack downhill, or you crack uphill on a rotational pull. And so being able to be really good rebounding wise, even if you're a little smaller. Now, on the flip side, the opponent, you could cause matchup problems for them that, hey, man, we got to now space the floor, drive you, making shots. That can cause some different things for the opponent. So we'll see on that. The last thing I would tell you is, how do you prepare for that if you're playing against a 7-footer or something? I remember when I was looking at a house and the people, and I didn't know, like, okay, well, this house, what there was a lot like next to, like, down the road a little bit. And I was just curious, how's that view gonna, if they're building, how, because I'm more of a visual imagery guy. So they came out and put these large sticks in the, and they took to the top, and they said, okay, this is what the top of that house and that lot would be. And so you can see, kind of like what it would be covering and everything. And I said, you know what, I should put that into our practice and take like a bunch of these things and have like a 7-foot or 7'3" thing, and you got to stick it right in front of the hoop, and you have to score over that. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so but yeah, that's just part of the deal. And but again, Jason, that's where the quickness of the ball moving, trying to attack closeouts, getting to the second and third side, living in the paint, and again, we're a good shooting team, but there's going to be some off nights when that maybe the shot's not falling, so we've got to find other ways to score. And as I mentioned earlier here in our discussion, that's got to be good, really good in those other ways to get more possessions than the opponent. And no matter where you go, no matter what size you play with, defense travels, and you've got to have a defensive mindset. You got to have a hit first mentality. And as I like to say, players play the game, but tough players win. And we've got to be tough. I mean, we just got to have a bunch of tough players to help us win the game.
Totally. And I think some things that I've seen from the fan base, sometimes I'm like, guys, there's size on this roster. Like, and you don't just have a center that rebounds. It is a 5-man collective job to rebound, and every inch across every position matters. You're rebounding as a team. And so, like, there's size here. And I like the way this roster is constructed. I'm unbelievably excited. And oftentimes when you have a new coach, because we've had coaches, the first year is always just like, golden glasses. Everybody's just seeing the rainbows and sunshine. But I actually really do like the way that this roster is constructed, because I feel like it has a good modern. I'm obsessed with basketball. All I do, like, I love covering the Rebel football, but like basketball is my passion. And so everything that I can get to learn about the game, I see so many good things in this roster, and I cannot wait for how this kind of schedule is going to play out. And I kind of wanted to ask you, because I believe in this team and I believe in you as our coach, I wanted to ask you what your impressions are of the schedule, kind of how you think it's going to roll, kind of big picture stuff. Because there are some definite, early games that you're going to have chances to kind of iron things out, obviously against good teams that you're going to have to play well to beat before you get into the players tournament. And kind of what's your mood about your schedule this year as a whole?
Well, here a few things, a couple things on that. And you're right when you're talking about rebounding. You make a great point. I call it gang rebounding, like especially defensively. You got to gang rebound. Everybody's got to stick their nose in there. And actually, people think that it's just about the bigs. Best teams in the country are when their guards stick their nose in on the defensive side of the ball and come up with hard-nosed guard rebounding, because then there's no exchange of an outlet. You can just get it and go. So some of the teams, as I mentioned, players play the game, tough players win. And that's being tough. I've always been a big about that, guard sticking their nose in there and defensive rebounding. That's a big deal for me. And I think that's a direct reflection on the head coach, because that's an important component, because it shows toughness. And in regards to, yes, you're right. A lot of times the first year coaches, everyone's saying the right things. I mean, that's just part of the deal. Everyone gets excited. And I've tried, and I'm a real big believer in this, and being very transparent and upfront with the fan base. And as you know, Jason, I've given my email out to everyone. Everyone can reach out to me, joshua.pastner@unlv.edu, and I respond to everybody. And there'll be times during the course of the year where maybe there's a tough stretch, a tough game, and people are frustrated and they want to ask me why you did this, why'd you go zone on this series, why did you run this play, why did you sub this? No problem. And to me, it's important people are emotionally invested in their program, and I don't mind being very transparent on why I did what I did. And that's the same thing in my radio show deal weekly. People can call in, and I hope it's for the majority of the year, it's all positive, but I understand there could be a tough game and people want to call in and ask why. And so to me, I don't ever want to be shielded against that. I think it's important that the fan base has full transparency. And so, yes, there's coaches speak, but to me, it's just an important part of our program is being full transparency on everything, not hiding anything, just being upfront about it all. And that way everybody's in the loop, and that includes the fan base. In regards to the schedule, one of the things that I learned when I got the job here, which I did not know, and I was kind of shocked about it, was that I was here and we were trying to schedule some things on our here at home, and I didn't realize the amount of time you're away from home based on the rodeo, and that the amount of time that Thomas and Mack is used on that, and that's a big stretch. Because what you're talking about is that you're in the Players Era tournament. Yes, you're still in Las Vegas, but you're not at home. It's not a home game. I hope we have a great fan base there, but you're still not at Thomas and Mack. So you got that whole Thanksgiving week. And then the next 3-4 weeks, you're pretty much out of Thomas and Mack. So you're really in a 4-week stretch where you don't really get to use your home court. That's an eye-opening experience. Now I said, how do we change that? They said, Coach, you could win 4 straight national championships. That will not be changed. So
it's a big moneymaker for the school. It's really good for the school.
I fully understand the whole deal on it, and so I get it. So, and going into next year, even into the 26-27 season, because as you know, Jason, when you take over a program, some of the games are already kind of scheduled. You've kind of inherited a schedule for your followers and listeners out there, and a lot of times the schedule is done a year in advance. It's not just happens in the summer. You might schedule a couple games here or there, but the majority of it's already done. That's why, like you see in football, things are 5, 6, 7 years done in advance. So a lot of it was done, but we've got a tough stretch, and I don't think there's no denying it. And you look at our first 3 games. You got UT Martin, Chattanooga, who won the NIT last year. You got Montana, who always wins the Big Sky Conference. So you got 3 good teams to start off, and then then you got that stretch where you're at Memphis. You play St. Joe's at home, which is an A10 team, Atlantic 10 team, and then you're on the road for a while. You got the 3 Players Era tournaments games. You got Maryland, Alabama. We don't know who to get the 3rd game yet. Then you're at Stanford. Then you come back at Lee's Family Forum, and then we got another week off, and then we're right into conference play. So that's kind of just, it's an interesting, I think it's a good schedule. I think it's a tough non-conference schedule. I would like for us to get more home games in the future of maybe some names that people more recognize, because that can maybe even help ticket sales. And I understand that. Obviously I came in late, and so as I mentioned, a lot of the schedule was already finished, or when some teams who could play, we were in that stretch of the rodeo, and we just couldn't play here during that time. So going into 26-27, we want to do a nice job. Now, we will have Stanford returning to us in 26-27 at home, but we want to start getting more series that we can, because I do think with the Mountain West Conference, with everyone leaving, and they bringing obviously UTEP, UC Davis, Hawaii, it's going to be less teams. And I could see a scenario where you're playing less league games. You have more opportunity for more non-conference, and the NC2A added a game where you can, instead of playing 31, you can now play 32 and starting the 26-27 year. So that will give you more times and more opportunities to try to schedule some names, in a sense, for the fans home base here to kind of get it rolling. But I also want to get to the point, Jason, where I don't want people coming for the opponent. I want them to come whether we're playing, University of the Flowers or Duke. It doesn't matter. They just want to come to see their team because they love the UNLV Runnin' Rebels, and they want to come to see their team play, their program play, regardless of anything else of who the opponent is.
Yeah, and I think especially with the way the Mountain West is changing, like you're losing a lot of quad one, quad two games. Like, you're losing really the five programs that have done really well. Well, outside of Fresno State, but I mean they have potential, of course, and Coach Wahlberg down there. But you gotta fill those games in somehow. And UNLV does have some. I you see our TV schedule. We're besides San Diego State, we're the second highest most appeared in national TV games in the Mountain West. And so the TV networks clearly still value this program. The city, even though it's been, there's definite room to grow, and there's definite room to kind of build bridges back with people that have trusted this program in the past. And I think that you're doing everything that you can as of right now. And obviously, when the season comes, that's when it really kicks in. But this program it can be the flagship. It can be the greatest, one of the greatest programs in college basketball, like it has been in the past. And I just think that it's going to be a challenge for sure. And I hope that you feel like, the fans are behind you, especially the diehard fans, because I'm there no matter who's the coach, like, it doesn't matter. We could have, whoever. We could have a football coach coaching. Ted Lasso could be lining up on the sidelines, and I'd be there no matter what. And so I hope that you feel that support from the diehard fans, and I hope that we can give you a little bit of leeway. I mean, obviously, you're going to try and win every single game, but this is a tough non-conference schedule, and the conference schedule is not easy either. I mean, this is a good conference. We could have 5-6 bids this year, but I do think that this team does have all the potential to win every game that it plays, and its players should feel that level of confidence. So, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. Any kind of closing thoughts you wanted to have on?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Jason. And I want to say this: you're right. First of all, the fan base has been great. I mean, everywhere I've gone, I feel in this. I know how important basketball is to this community. Everywhere I go, people are like, "Man, Coach, we just are so the rebels, they're running the rebels." So I know it. I feel it, and I understand. The self-induced pressure that I put on myself to want to do well for the fan base and for everyone because of their program that we want to have great success. And you're right about the schedule. I mean, it is a tough schedule this year. There's no doubt about it. There's a tough schedule. And that's important to that you're going to have to go play and compete and win some of these games. I mean, it's an important deal. And I would also say two other things on that. You as you mentioned earlier, you're exactly right. As we enter, not as much for this year, because this year you got the full Mountain West of all those teams. And you're going to have plenty of quad one, quad opportunities all throughout the way. And but as you enter into 26, 27, you mentioned it, you're losing some teams out there. So you got to be even more aggressive probably in the non-conference to protect yourself. Where you just don't have to, where it doesn't, have everything has to be at that 3-day tournament, in the postseason there, in the tournament. The other thing I would say is too is in the big picture with everything as well too, the program is such that it's the history of this program, the success of this program. Part of the reason Vegas, and I mentioned this, is where it is today is because of that 80s and 90s run. And it's kind of been just choppy since then. You know what I mean? There's been some years, been some not years, and this and that. We've got to get people back into Thomas and Mack. And I understand, Jason, like people are going to say, hey, well, you win will come. I get that. Like, come on. I understand. I'm in sports. There's a scoreboard. I understand that. But it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, which came first. And I've always told people we need people in there because part of the reason some of these teams in the Mountain West have had some success as well too is their home court advantages. They're able to have that fan base in there. That makes a big deal. The second part with that as well too is for us to be the successful team that we want, program that we all want to be, we have to be able to win on the road. I think winning road games really, you got to protect home court. You know that. But you got to find ways to win on the road. It's just a big deal to find ways to win on the road. And I think, we've got to keep attacking that. I think that goes back to the toughness factor of that. We will be challenged early, and whether it's in the non-conference, and then once we get into conference play, and hey, we'll see where it all falls out. But I can tell you this: every waking second, I am completely obsessed. That's all I'm thinking about. Is how do we get the program back to guys like yourself, Jason, the rest of the fan base, and everybody in between that's just so excited for Runnin' Rebel basketball to kind of move this thing forward. So I think we have a good plan of attack. Now we just got to go execute on the floor.
Yep, and I can't wait. Last question for you, because I had the Burner Brigade, our UNLV kind of online fan group. What do you think about suits on the sideline? Are you a suits? Are you a polo guy? What's your opinion on that?
Yep. So just so everybody knows, so my staff will. I'm not going to make them wear shirt and tie. They can wear polo and slacks, no problem. But I am going to wear a shirt and tie. Maybe I have the coat. I haven't determined if I'm really have a coat on, but I am going to for sure wear a shirt and tie. I've got all the shirt and ties. What's the point of not wearing them? You know what I mean? And I get it. The comfort level, it's easier to just wear a polo and slacks or whatever. And I get that. But I'm probably a little more, and anyone that's gone knows that when I go speak at stuff, I'm always wearing shirts and ties, and everyone's like a coat, shirt, and tie, and everyone's like, Coach, we're in Vegas, just wear polo and slacks. I'm like, I'm more tie, shirt, you know how it goes, Jason. So I will be in a shirt and tie for the first countable game. The 2 exhibitions, I'll probably just be in slacks and a polo, but once it counts on November the 4th, I will be in a shirt and tie. Jacket not still up in the air, but I will for sure that, so you can let the fan base know on that.
That's all good. Well, Coach, thank you so much. I'm sure the Burners will be very happy to hear that. And ultimately,
just win.
Just win. I mean, who cares? I mean, like
if we're winning games, I could wear my T-shirt and shorts and flip flops. They wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just win the game. I get it. Just win the game.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Coach, and best of luck this season. And we're going to be behind you. I'll be at every game that I can be, besides the ones that my baby, besides the beginning of the season ones, but I'll be there. And so, Coach, thank you so much. Any closing thoughts?
Jason, my piece of advice for you that with your kids, because I've got four little ones. The days are long. I mean, they're very long. The days are very long, but the years go by quick. So just remember that when those long days, you could sit there and remind your wife, hey, this too shall pass. The years go by quick, but the days are long, especially those early stages when you're not getting a lot of sleep.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Coach. God bless you. God bless the Rebels.
In my third child, by my time my third child was crying in the middle of the night, I got it down good. I was just like, I told my wife, she's like, okay, your turn. And I was like, I got practice in the morning. I go, how about I call one of my managers over to help get if I need to. I got to get ready for practice.
Well, I mean, that's what they're there for. So hopefully they were willing, but
Coach, said, God bless everybody, my friend.
Yeah, God bless everybody. God bless the Rebels. And I'll be at the Thomas and Mack all season, and I'm sure the fans will be too. Thank you, Coach. Everybody have a great week, and let's run.